So, as someone who wants to be within the game industry, it's really frustrating to see all these controversies and see just how much, like 90% of them don't matter. And one of the bigger ones was wokeness in video games and whether or not if it's actually impactful negatively or positively. I have my own thoughts on these, and I don't think a lot of people have or share my thoughts, but I'm more than happy to open up a debate. However, a little while ago, I reacted to something on stream, and it kind of devolved into a little bit of an hour tangent, and I get that. I meant to put it out as if it was like a scripted video, and I do have like a script written. I'm just going to throw this one out there, though, from the stream a little while back. If people want to see more of like me tackling real life politics within the gaming industry exclusively, I need to make that clear. I have my own politics, much as anyone else does, but I think that I would rather stick to the video game industry and stuff like that. Let me know what you all think about this. If you want me to stick to gaming, stick to streaming, or if you want me to, make a more elaborate video, I will. If you want the TLDR version of what I think, I don't think there's any wokeness in video games. I think that if you make it optional, that doesn't mean it's mandatory by definition, and I don't think that it negatively impacts anything, and I think that a lot of people are just either being racist or homophobic, and they are progressively showing less and less interest in restraint in that belief. That's my opinion, and I go into it a little bit more in depth in this video. Anyway, peace. I don't agree because racist is pretty fucking clear. If you don't like a game because there's a black person into it, that's not the same thing as calling something woke. That's racism. And another one too is in the last year or so, I have been getting on my own person more involved into politics. I want to know what's going on in the world, even though it's like not my country. Again, I'm Canadian, but I do follow some Canadian politics. Canadian politics doesn't really happen too much. Like, there's nothing crazy. It's not the shit show that's like the US, where it's like a fucking circus or a carnival, right? Canadian politics are a little boring, so I do brighten the horizon a little bit, but I don't really care enough to talk about real world politics. But gaming politics is something that I do care about, because I very much care about gaming. I very much care about that sphere. I very much care about like that whole, the society of gaming, right? And there was a video I wanted to react to. Now, Lug, I think you're in chat. I don't really know what I should call you here. I'm sorry, man. You're a bigger Asmon fan than I am. Does he care if people react to his content? I sent an email out this morning, but I didn't get a response back to, so I don't think I'm going to get a response back to, and I don't want to react to anything of his until I get like perfect confirmation that he doesn't care if people react to his stuff. But if not, basically there's and Asmon's not the only perpetrator of it too, but he has a video that I was watching yesterday, and it perfectly kind of like encapsulated like the problem that I have with the gaming sphere these days. And that is like crazy. I'm not an Aspen fan, but he does react to other people's content. Of course not. Fucking course not. So okay. I mean, I thought you were a fan. I tried to look for it. I can't see. I can't see anywhere where he necessarily says that, yeah, you react to my shit, don't react to my shit. I don't really care. I would rather have like explicit permission before I do stuff like that, though. Sorry, sip of water. But there's this whole thing in gaming these days that like everything's woke. Woke. And Ackman, it's all in the video that I want to react to, but I won't for prosperity's sake, even though I do want to, but I'm not going to. There's this whole thing about like woke and how it's like the boy that cried wolf these days, and how every time you say it and it's a false alarm, people are less inclined to believe you. But you can do it. There's a big thing to look out for. I'll show you in Discord. All right, cool. Well, maybe we'll take a look at it. I just want to like say my piece first, before we get into the video. At that point, right? Um, and first of all, I think it's bullshit. I don't think that most games. I'm talking about AAA here. Indie games, yeah, I can see that, but there's thousands of indie games every month. There's thousands of indie games. I'm talking about like AAA games that like people actually talk about and more importantly bitch about. And that's woke everywhere. Everything's woke. Concord was woke, and that's why it died. Warhammer 40k 2 or Space Marine 2 is woke. Bad game. God of War somehow woke. And it's like, oh, that's bullshit. It really is. Baldur's Gate 3 is woke. I don't think so. Dragon Age Veilguard is woke because you can have a customizable cosmetic surgical scar option in the character creator. It's now woke. No, I don't think so. I really don't. I think if something is an option, as in you can not partake, as in you can circumvent it, then it's not woke. Now, if it's something that you have to do, like if in Dragon Age Veilguard, it's not out yet, so we don't know. But if there's a whole plot point where you have to go through trans surgery, then maybe it's a woke game. But it's not. Everyone these days, oh, it's so woke, it's so woke, it's so woke. There's a black character in this game, so now it's woke. Woke. Farm people, farm me for content. If you think I'm wrong, make content out of me. I don't care. Okay. I'm going to take your word that he said that then. I'm going to take your word that he said that. And I'm going to put the chat box in... I'm going to put the chat box into record mode. Come on, man. Stop doing this. There we go. There we go. Let's pull it up. I'll talk about it. Sure. I want to go over this video because I don't love a lot of Asmon. Sorry. I have a love-hate relationship with him. I watch almost everything he makes. Not because out of hate, because sometimes he does say some things that I do like. But sometimes he says something that I can't fucking stand. I would say it's only a negative aspect would be if you have to use the pronouns, if things are forced into your face. So here's another thing too, right? So the video I want to look at is Everything is Woke 3 days ago, right? 500,000 viewers, whatever. I watched half of it before I'm like, hold on now. There's some shit here that I want to talk about because it directly relates to the gaming sphere. Let's do this. All right, there's an ad. Skip the ad. So let's go over to the beginning. It's 12 minutes. I think it could be fun if we go over this, but let me go over some points though first. And I'll go over them a little bit more in detail. But if you have the options, it means it's good. But jelly beans is it's like jelly beans. Some are good, but why would I be forced to eat the ones I hate? That would be woke in my opinion, forcing something. So I mean, I again, a lot of it I do think is optional. For example, biggest thing that at least Asmon talks about is Concord, right? All the characters have pronouns, even the robot, even the non-living thing had pronouns. And last time I checked, you don't get a damage buff, or any buff for that matter, if you call the characters by their proper pronouns. It's purely cosmetic. Same thing in Starfield too. However, in Starfield, it was just how do you want people to refer to you as? Which again, optional. you can pick whatever you want there. In Dragon Age Veilguard, the surgical scar whole fucking fiasco. If you don't want it, you don't have to do it. Baldur's Gate 3 is woke. Why? Oh, because you can have same-sex relations. Okay. Are you forced into that? No. It's an option. If it's an option, it can't be woke. It's only woke if you force yourself as a player to take that road. You know? And the idea that something else is woke because there's a woman in power, or like, I'll get into it here, and I'll get into it here. Like if there's like a woman in power, or like just like a black man, You know, like Gears of War is not woke because of fucking Coltrane. Okay, it's not woke because there's Anya in it. Okay, Devil May Cry isn't woke because Lady exists. Like, like it's so stupid. Oh no, I mean, like if I make a character, I have to choose things that are only in there to fit a narrative. They only do it for the money or they force it. It doesn't matter. Yeah, but I don't think that happens. I don't. In Cyberpunk, you could have interchangeable genitals. You could be a chick with a dick, or you can be a guy with a twat. You know, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, and it has no impact in the game, right? Can't really be woke if it's completely optional. There are many incels right now, but I think a woman or a black person think it's woke now. But back in the days, we saw someone good, like Supernatural had great. Yeah, Supernatural had a lot of good actors, honestly. Great black, you saw them through an like, whoa, I wish I had this series. Yeah, exactly, 100%. But. We're going to get into this video. So the video is ultimately about, it's Asmon reacting to the Actman and Andy Pants. I know Actman. I watch some of his stuff all the time. Pretty solid dude. Like I don't really have like any like crazy notes about it. And Andy Pants, I don't really know him. But I from the little I do, I kind of know he's kind of like a piece of shit. Change the name of the stream? Sure, I'll change it. I don't really know what to change it to, but I do want to talk about a few things, plus gaming. Turn on the stream too? Sure, but fuck it. I'll do it. Give you one sec. Give me one sec. Trying something new. There we go. Sure. There we go. But anyway, let's get into watching the video real quick. Make sure everything's recording.
Watch the whole Actman Andy Pants. Most is inconsequential,
but this part is very relevant.
I never have watched this. I have no idea what even happened here.
So I did watch it. I watched the entire Actman Andy Pants thing. Nothing really happened. It's just Andy Pants acting like a fucking cunt nugget the entire time. Like honestly, like he's just like he just acts like super cringe.
It's incredibly strange to talk about Concord and not. Told you, I think it's incredibly strange to talk about Concord and not mention the clear woke slop and. You make fun of people who use the word woke, and you never use the word, even though it completely describes what's going on right now in gay games.
All right. So first thing, So Actman is him. This is Actman. He does like game commentary, stuff like that. He had a whole fucking fiasco like forever ago. And this is Andy Pants. I think that's his name. Not Andy Man. Andy Pants. That's the dude with the cosmonaut icon, right? And then Asmongold reacting to it, but Asmongold does say some things. But I do want to stop here. Gay games. What games are we talking about here? You know, the only gay games I know are like legitimately not safe for work. like I don't think we're talking about Cloud Meadows here.
So the thing about the word woke is it
yeah, and he's going to say what I was saying earlier.
Old story we all read and were taught when we were growing up. The boy who cried wolf. These days it's the boy who cried woke. There is so much disingenuous criticism using the word woke. The word is so liberally applied.
I didn't mean to speed up there.
This is
Sorry.
why we banned it on the subreddit, by the way, for a while.
I'm going to speed up a little bit though.
Because people use the word woke the same as they use the word like racist or like a few other things, where it's like this is like basically it's like a filler word because I don't know how to actually define what the problem is. So I'm just going to use like this bucket word that somehow is going to apply.
I don't agree because racist is pretty fucking clear. If you don't like a game because there's a black person to it, that's not the same thing as calling it something woke. That's racism. That's discrimination based because someone is a different race that you don't particularly like. Path of Exile has 2 gay characters. League of Legends has gay lore, and people like it. What does this mean? I was referring to yeah. Well, so this is his whole grift. He's like games are gay these days. First of all, like that's a bad thing, but still, let's go.
DEI is the new woke. Yeah, DEI.
DEI is just how racists can say that the problem is black people without saying that the problem is black people. Like that's not fucking like, what are we doing here? It's the same word. You're just putting a coat of paint over it.
Yeah, exactly.
Fuck. Okay. I should have downloaded the video in retrospect. Whoops. Sorry about the odds.
Thing, because there are
There's
so many.
two races in video games. There's white and woke.
That's a joke, clearly. I'm not really going to comment on that, but it's a joke. I don't need to really fucking say that, but I do.
Who produce daily outrage content that are saying this thing.
Games often had gay characters. I'm sure Bayonetta isn't fucking straight. I mean, Bayonetta is just horny incarnate, right? All the guys and gals just get hot in the pants for Bayonetta.
Is woke. This thing is woke.
Dante's fancy, you know.
Tune in tomorrow for episode 4169 on why Star Wars is woke now and why you should hate it and be mad and angry and upset.
Yeah.
There's so much of that going on that the ending of the story of The Boy Who Cried Wolf is that at the end there was a wolf out there, but because there were so many false claims of there being a wolf, the people didn't help him.
So the only thing I have to say about this, and something I'm really confused about, if there is a game that is woke, the story of The Boy That Cried Wolf ends poorly because the boy's livestock gets eaten by the wolves. What's the equivalent to real life? A game is woke? And then if a game is heavy quotations actually woke, what does that mean? Like, what does that imply? If it's not for you, then just don't play the game. Don't throw a bitch fit over it. Like, I don't understand it. And again, AAA games, they can be horny. Baldur's Gate proved that, but like for the most part, they're not really. If you want that, you go to indie. You go to the indie universe. You go to the indie sphere. You know, Undertale. You know, the fan base made pretty clear about the intentions of what they wanted to do with that. I don't see the same thing with fucking, you know, Space Marine 2. It's all like dude bro. Helldivers 2. It's not gay. It's like bromance. It's so far into gay where it becomes just like pure masculine friendship. But anyway.
So that's what's happened with the word woke. When I hear somebody,
I think that Ackman's bringing up a really good point here, and I think the best example of that point is that a lot of people have labeled games like Space Marine 2 as woke because it has I guess like a female commander in it, and I feel like that's not,
which I think he's gonna agree with me here, but like that's just like bullshit. It really is. Warhammer 40k it hates everyone equally. This is true, but it doesn't discriminate against gender. That's like the one thing it doesn't do. Everyone is a piece of shit in the Warhammer universe. It's just like Always Sunny. There is no good guys in Warhammer. But there's no discrimination. Everyone dies and lives the same. Best example of real woke is that cancel. What? Was that cancel word game word. Otherwise, we use the word woke for forcing things in narrative and diversity and accumulating money instead of hiring a good actor. So here's actually a good point. I'm talking in the gaming sphere exclusively. If you want to talk about Hollywood or if you want to talk about like books, I can kind of understand, right? You know, like it's Cleopatra, but it's not a historically accurate Cleopatra, or you know, anything that Lord of the Rings is doing currently, where it's like that's not historically accurate to the lore of Lord of the Rings. So that stuff, I can kind of understand why some people are upset, but at the same time, how much of it is rational and how much of it is just like, I don't like that race or I don't like that gender. You know, at what point is it just racism and misogyny or misandry for that matter too, which that's a thing.
Really, what's happening? And a lot of people, well, sorry, that's actually not true. A lot of people is inaccurate. You're correct in correcting me on that. There is like a list of like what games are woke and what games are not woke. And I think Elden Ring and Space Marine 2 were put on that list.
Which proves fundamentally that it's full of shit. Space Marine 2 is woke, where you play a big, jacked super soldier man who loves his brothers in arms fighting a giant army of like dinosaur insects. That's the whole synopsis of the fucking game. And Elden Ring, yeah, it has some girl bosses in it, But FromSoft has always been very female heavy, honestly. Every Soulsborne game, you level up how? By talking to the magical lady. It's not woke. It's probably just Miyazaki having a thing for women. It's fine. Is Nier Automata woke? No. Even though like 90% of the characters are women in that game. With actors, I mean the people who act in games, what writers, etc., to get money, changing the actors from the game models, reforming them to make them look ugly on purpose to fit a narrative is what I meant to say. Even then, I don't really understand that. Like I don't get that. And yeah, blah blah blah. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Blah blah blah. But I don't see that. People say that that's what Fable is, but I don't think that's accurate. I don't think I agree with that. Ugly is however you interpret it, you know. There's conventionally attractive and there's conventionally ugly. Yeah, sure. You can look like a fucking hag. But anything that's in between that is just up to the person, really.
So when you paint with such a broad brush that almost anything could be, if you interpret it in this way, could be perceived as woke, you end up devaluing the word. No, I'm being serious, right?
There's no value to be had. It doesn't mean anything. It means whatever you want it to mean. Throw a fucking dart on the board of whatever you think woke is. That's what it means today. It's a placement word. It means whatever you don't like. Like woke, in my opinion, is supposed to mean like diversity and acceptance. That's a bad thing, apparently, to a lot of people. You know, woke doesn't mean anything. It never meant anything. First of all, it was a conglomerate word. People just used it to whatever fucking fit their narrative. Shareholders, something we never see. They want a new thing, new customers, the hip, the trending that brings the money. No, it's good. Again, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Because some things don't work. People are and granted, sometimes the people aren't really reliable, but time and time again, there are people who are like, hey, we don't like this, we don't like this, we don't like this. And what do we get? The same thing that people don't fucking like.
Baldur's Gate 3 too? Well, I could see Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 makes a lot more sense that it's woke because you can engage in homosexual relationships.
That doesn't mean it's woke if it's an option. You're not forced to fuck a guy if you're a guy.
You can, I think they have pronouns in the game.
Not really. I mean, you're a he or you're a she. It's not that crazy.
You can change a character's gender.
I did see the Ubisoft stock, right? And a lot of it is unjust. Now, I don't like defending Ubisoft. I think that Assassin's Creed Shadows looks like a dog shit game. It does. I don't want to fucking defend it, but I'm going to have to because people were pissed because of racism. End of story. Yasuke is a historical figure. He doesn't have to be historically accurate. It's how he's portrayed in his own fucking country. And people are pissed off about that. There are other things that Ubisoft did fuck up on in that they're kind of doubling down, and that sucks because I don't want to fucking defend that. But if I defend one, then I have to defend the rest by proxy, which sucks. The game looks like shit. I don't want to defend it. You know, I don't want to defend Concord. The game looked like shit, but people were so pissed about the wrong thing about the game, and it's really frustrating.
Genitalia with like not having them have a different body. I feel like.
Why is it unjust? People don't buy the games. Pardon me. People don't buy the games. If it's not the game, then why the stock went down? It's because they make no money anymore. No money, no investors going out. I mean, ultimately, yeah. I don't think Ubisoft's going to do too well. Mainly because, and this goes for a lot of other companies too, they're not giving us what we want. Give us Assassin's Creed Black Flag. The last good Assassin's Creed, they're not giving it to us. That has nothing to do with people being angry. It kind of does. But that's not how the stock market works. I wish it would. I mean, everything can manipulate anything. 1,000 people bitching on Twitter is going to get the ire of someone else, which is going to bitch to another 1,000 people, which is going to bitch to another 1,000 people, and that's how Twitter works. So it does. In my opinion, it does. Things can spiral so out of control, and all it takes is like 3 crazy people to take down a country, you know?
Like Baldur's Gate 3, like you could make an argument that like, yeah, sure, this is a woke type thing, right? It's just that people don't care because it seems like it's an authentic product. And so I think that what happened is that people are trying to like identify every instance of something being woke. But I think that if you retroactively apply this to a lot of other games, you would see other games in the past that have also had this issue as well. right? So like for example with like Space Marine 2, you could also say like Gears of War, right? Would also be woke because of Coltrane and Dom, right?
Which I think we all can unanimously agree is complete bullshit. Like, it doesn't make sense. How is Coltrane woke? He is an American football player that when the world ended joined like the United States Army. You can't get any more fucking patriotic than that, man. That's not woke. That's a fucking Michael Bay movie.
So that seems like kind of a bad argument, a bad way to look at it. So the problem is that I think that people have started using the term woke for too many different things, or Halo, right? Yeah, exactly. Like, oh wow, Master Chief has a woman that knows everything, that tells him what to do, and Sergeant Johnson's like this black guy, and like he tells everybody else what to do, right? If you want to look at everything through that lens, it's like if you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I do think
2 times 3 is a little too fast. I'm gonna put it on like 1.5, just because we're however long in, and it's only 4 minutes, so I don't want to be those guys that spend like 3 hours on like a 12-minute video. So let's try 1.5.
Point that if everything is woke, then nothing is. And I think that the problem is that Concord, which is like, in my opinion, definitely a woke game, like 100%.
I don't know how. Wokeness has nothing to do with the game. It doesn't. Oh, but the trash can had pronouns. Yeah, it's fucking world building. If you engage with it or if you ignore with it, that has no impact on how the game works. How can a game be woke if it's optional? You don't need to know that information to play the game. You don't get a fucking damage buff, or you don't get a damage buff or damage deduction rate if you fucking call them by the proper pronouns. It's not a woke game if it's fundamentally an optional world-building flavor text.
Is that if you don't figure out a way to like grade this or to have any sort of like measured criticism, you can't say Concord is as woke as Space Marine 2, right? Like this is it's like it's beyond retarded. So that's a huge issue. And I think it's making it hard for people that are like against this kind of stuff to be taken seriously because they're doing things that are unserious.
There's nothing to be taken seriously. How many fucking guys do you know call their boats or their cars she? Oh, she purrs like a kitten. Oh, she runs so smooth. She's an expensive one. That's a fucking pronoun, you idiots. We've been applying pronouns to everything. Oh, but because it's in a video game, we care. Oh, get the fuck out of here. It's so stupid.
If you accept everything, you stand for nothing. Well, yeah, but
That's
this is like the opposite.
That's dumb.
Like if you don't stand for anything, then all you're doing is laying down. You're doing nothing. So it's like you have to be measured in your criticism and your feedback.
It's what happened to the words racist and sexist a few years ago.
He's right.
People
That's
were
exactly
saying
what
like air conditioning sexist and
Yes.
right, all this
Which,
stupid
by
shit.
the way, that was a real title. That was a legitimate thing. Women were saying that air conditioning was sexist.
Yeah, and that I agree. That kind of was dumb, but for the most part, people are still racist. People are still sexist. There are Nazis on Twitter. There's like, you can say that it's diminished, but it doesn't hide the fact that they're real. They're not boogeymen. They're in plain view some of the times.
It is racist and sexist, and it destroyed the meaning that those words are supposed to have.
He's right.
I don't think so. I think calling someone a racist never had any real never. Unless it was like you call their workplace and you do like that, which I think is a little too far sometimes. And calling someone sexist, I don't think calling someone racist and sexist, I don't think that ever had any meaning on the internet. I don't think it ever did. Ever did. Not really. No.
Boy who cried racist.
Nazi is the worst one.
My love of
Nazi is not the worst one because fucking, I hate to tell you this, there's a lot of Nazis on the internet, man. A lot of people that have fascist ideologies. They just hide it because it's easy to hide. Super life, racism, everything exists. Going to Instagram, reading comments for a while.
I think Nazi and slavery are two of the.
Well, I mean, you're on Instagram, first of all. So, I mean, what are you expecting there? That's like going to Facebook. It's like, you kind of know what you're getting into at that point, right? You kind of know you're getting into, like, questionable ethical parents if you go to Facebook and Instagram. Twitter's the same hellscape. You know exactly what the kind of communities you're going to run into if you head over there.
Worst ones that are used now because people use, like, for example, I'm working at a job that doesn't treat me well as slavery, and like they don't, like, it's just, I think it downplays, like, we have real slavery, right? Like now we have real slavery. It's not in the US, like, and by the way, if you are trying, like, if there's like 3 smart Redditors in chat, they're like, oh, what about prisons? Nothing like slavery, nothing like actual slavery.
I agree with this. Slavery is not, slavery doesn't exist. Or sorry, slavery doesn't exist in the way that people think they do. You can be You can feel like it's a prison, but there's always options. TikTok is also bad since it's edgy teenagers. But Instagram, wow, yeah, Twitter, I would say. I mean,
think that you're
I don't go on TikTok. I don't really fuck with Instagram, and Twitter is I can handle Twitter, but
it's hard. Read a book. Anyway, just look it up on Wikipedia. It'll take you 5 seconds to learn that you're stupid. So if you compare that to like what's happening in like, you know, Africa, etc., that is actual slavery in some cases, right? It is really bad. And so people that compare those two things, I think, are being like.
I mean, so whenever you talk about shit like this, there's always like the extremes, right? There's always like legal indentured servitude and shit like that, where like you sign a contract, you can't get out of it, even if you want to, and it gives you pennies. Like, you can always find like the one example, right? So, do I agree with him? Yes. Is he technically wrong? Yes. Because you can always find extremes. That's the problem with talking about these things. There's always going to be like hyper extremes. Do they count? Yeah, but I don't know how much weight they have behind them because it's like 1 out of every 10,000. So,
like very, very disingenuous, and they're like hijacking the emotional baggage of a word to.
It's not slavery; it's manipulation. Well, manipulation led into slavery. You can't get out of a contract, not without hyper serious repercussions, to the point where you might as well just be dead anyway. You know, I don't have any exact examples, but you know. In cases like that, yeah, I can feel like slavery, even though it's technically not. You still get paid from it. It might not be what you want, and if you don't have a contract, then you can quit. Just get another job. It sucks, but you know you gotta do what you gotta do. Or at the end of the day, you know, if it sucks that much and you don't want to do anything about it, then maybe don't bitch. It's as cruel as it is.
Make their own argument or their own feelings more important. And I think Nazi is the same thing. Like the amount of times that I hear people being called Nazis because they don't want open borders or.
So I agree that Nazi is overused, but I don't think that Nazi. Sorry, I think that a lot of people are called Nazis that are not Nazis, but I don't think that Nazis are overused. What about China? You're gonna work for them each day. You know, I mean, again, talking about extremes. I'm talking about like countries that I know. I don't know China. Not really. I know that I don't want to go there. That's all I know about China.
They're like Donald Trump fans is way too much.
The Boy Who Cried Sexist, The Boy Who Cried Woke. These are 3 books in a volume. Okay,
He's right.
That all have the same ending.
Dude, so it's I mean, you're a video game critic and you do video game analysis, so I find it shocking that you don't see the pattern in a game like Concord having 3 black females in it and not a single white man.
Oh, it did have a white guy in it, but
yeah, I was going to say that too, but he beat me to it. But again, can we just pretend that it had nothing to do with it? All the characters provided like maybe like 2 or 3 that I personally didn't mind the look of. A lot of the characters were just like, they were just visual noise, right? They look like a randomizer on a created character half the time. A lot of them didn't look cool. A lot of them played like shit. You know. Another reason too that I don't think Concord is a woke game, because if the gameplay was good, say everyone loved the gameplay of Concord, it didn't die out like a fucking supernova. Say the game was good. The gameplay was like super fucking solid. Everyone loved it. But it still had all the woke shit. Heavy quotations there. Would it still be considered a bad game? No. Because the gameplay is fun. Concord did not die because of wokeness. Concord died because it was a terrible fucking game that no one wanted and no one liked the look of. If you fixed the character designs, not race, not gender swapping, the color scheme, and fashion outfits, and you tightened up the gameplay so it didn't feel horrible, people would have played it. It's not woke. It's not woke if it's not woke if it's optional.
I think the problem is that a lot of the people that have discussions about this topic have, like, they've already made up their mind about it, and they're looking at it from a one-dimensional perspective. And I think that's what happens with people that are, like, super anti and super pro this type of, like, inclusion.
Which is him, too, by the way. He's very spoken time and time again how against wokeism he is. You know. Which there's a bunch of other shit, too. Like, the whole Sweet Baby Inc. thing. I agree with some of it. I don't agree with some of it, you know. This is where I can agree. I also disagree. I imagine it's bad. Imagine you get a bad iced tea, but you hate the iced tea. But imagine now paying $10 for that iced tea and having to give a tip. Exactly.
Because
Right.
they're not.
I mean, yeah, if Concord was free, also, I think that would have also polished a lot of people's bootstraps too. But wokeism didn't kill the game. I'm sorry. The game being bad killed the game. That says having to give your email, having to call. Yeah.
Not really looking at
Being a bad game kills games. Looking gay does not kill games.
both of these extremes trend to the perspective of I am basing my opinion on things off of something that is not happening.
Yeah, exactly.
basically, right? Exactly what happened to just make a good game. People are too emotional. Yeah, well, it's also that people are not really willing to like concede any ground. And I think if you're not really willing to see like the sense of like what other people are saying, then I think that you can't be reasoned with, right? You can't have people understand what your perspective is.
I can agree with that. I can see how other people come to a conclusion. Now, if I think that conclusion is bullshit, then I'm not going to give it the time of day. If I think you hate women, then I'm not going to listen to your thoughts on fucking women's rights. Or if you hate black people, I'm not going to listen to how you think Harlem should be eradicated. You know, like there's obviously there are extremes in everything, right? But for the most part, like if someone has a reasonable idea on how to do it, but if they're just like, no, fuck you, wokeism killed Concord. No, fuck you, wokeism killed Assassin's Creed Shadows. Without ever acknowledging that, no, the gameplay just looks like it's dog shit, and that's maybe why it sucks. That might have something to do with it. If they're not willing to at least agree on that point, then maybe I can agree on some stuff. But if they're just like, no, woke bad, you bad, because woke. And it's just, okay, well then what the fuck do you want to do? Like, eat shit.
So yeah, what if everything really is woke? I feel like then at that point, then the term doesn't mean anything. Because like
It never meant anything. It never meant anything. Wokeism never meant anything. It's the stupidest shit. It meant whatever you want it to mean.
it's kind of like, remember what I was saying before about how I don't like how people call things scams? Like for example, like Lunchly or like the Pokemon cookies. They're not really a scam. They're just overpriced. And I think that if you use the word scam, a scam is when you buy something and you don't get what you paid for, fundamentally, right? So like
So most video games these days, you pay for a finished product and that's the last thing you get. See what happens when we use that it's not a scam, you know. Concord wasn't a finished product. It was not a scam. No Man's Sky when it came out wasn't a finished product. It's not a scam, you know. Let's say you start a game and the first thing you see is two dudes kissing. One having blue hair, you would be like, what the fuck? I wouldn't. Now imagine having that building up loving characters in a great game. That's how you present it. I mean, Witcher 3 started with Geralt buck-ass nude in a bathtub. Do people say that game's woke? Conan Exiles, you start up buck-ass naked, and another muscular buck-ass naked dude helps you out of imprisonment and sends you out into the wild buck-ass naked. Is that game woke? No. If two dudes are kissing, I'd be like, why are they kissing? You wouldn't, but 90% of the world would. I mean, at that point, I think that's just like a skill diff. It's how you represent it. You can have those things and the game is good is what I mean. I know, but at the same time, though, is it shock value? Is it jumping ahead? Are you going to go back into the past? You know? What is the context? You just wake up and there's just two dudes banging beside you? I'd be confused. Maybe you're drunk and you woke up in a brothel, you know? You can do anything storytelling. You can present it however you want. It's the it's not necessarily the execution of the storytelling. It's the actual storytelling that affects the storytelling. But if the game was bad and you see it, it would just make you angry. I don't know. I think that's just people being a little bit of a snowflake at that point. I think it honestly is. If it goes against your beliefs, it'll be less comfortable. If it goes against your beliefs, then you shouldn't be in the gaming sphere, because then you're hard coding yourself into one specific kind of game. I don't believe in murder, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to play a fucking shooter or any other fantasy game. You know? You are the only one that can dictate whether or not you get triggered or not. You know? And if your bugaboo is two dudes kissing, then that speaks more than you than it does about anyone else. And I'm not talking about you specifically. I'm talking about the example in which you laid in front of me. Right? If that truly bothers you, I'm sorry. Get thicker skin. Stop being a fucking pussy. It's like people that really don't like public displays of affection. Grow the fuck up. As I said, it accumulates. If you don't like... Sorry, I had to take my cough drop out to get the segment done. It accumulates. If you don't like two dudes kissing, then you will not... What? You will have no against it. If the game was AAA, you would have loved it. No, I mean, if I like a game or not, it would entirely depend if the game is good. Not because of one scene. But if the game you paid money for, and also something you hate... Okay, hold on. But if the game you paid money for, then also does something you hate, it annoys people just that more. Negative people, fucking course they're the exception. Alright, well, I mean... if you paid for something and it turns out you didn't like it, you're allowed to not like it, but other people are also allowed to make fun of you for why you didn't like it. You know, if you don't like Space Marine 2 because it had a female in the position of any amount of power, you're allowed to not like that. Other people are also very much allowed to make fun of you for it. If you hate a game so much, with so much vitriol, because it starts open with two dudes kissing, before you learn any story, any context of what the fuck is going on, you're allowed to not like that. People are also allowed to call you shallow and kind of frail as an emotional human. I think it goes both ways. Let's continue.
You buy something, they don't give the thing to you, or you buy something and you get something else, or you buy something under the pretense of one thing and then
I know. I figured you're not talking about yourself. You're using an example, and I'm saying, like, you're allowed to not like something, but people are also allowed to make fun of you if the thing you don't like is fucking stupid. What if I said you see them kissing, and then the game is bad and you lost money? Then I would be mad at the game for being bad. I wouldn't be mad at the game because two dudes kiss. The two dudes kissing would have no sway in my mind on whether a game is good or bad. It wouldn't. If the game is good, then the game is good. If the game is bad, the game is bad. The game's not good because two dudes kiss. The game's not bad because two dudes kiss. The game's good because the game's good. The game's bad because the game's bad. It's literally that black and white. People will say it's because of the kissing too, and I think that's fucking stupid. I think that's their problem. I think they're fucking a snowflake. If they can't handle... If a grown adult cannot handle something as innocent as kissing, regardless of who is kissing, then that is their fucking problem. That is not the game's problem. That is not the company that made the game's problem. That's not the fucking self-insert DEI because you think it is problem. It's your fucking problem. But I'm not the majority. You're after all, the minority like me. Look at it from their perspective. I do. They don't like gay people. And that's why they don't like fucking gay people kissing. I don't think that's fucking acceptable for game critique, though. I did watch the Asian Andy video. Don't change the subject, though, please. But the issue is it doesn't sell, which means company losses. Yes, I agree. Some games don't sell. But they don't sell... because the game is bad. If the game was good and it had kissing, people wouldn't care. The game's good. They got a good game. You can make a good game. It's possible. Assassin's Creed can be a good game. I don't think it looks like a good game, though. That's the only problem.
Thanks, right? So that's what an actual scam is. And so having overpriced products or having products that are stupid are not scams. They're just overpriced garbage. And so if you take the word, and again, I think that's what happens. People like to take the word and then expand it so they can have that emotional control.
But scam means something, though. Scam means something. Tons of fucking YouTubers monthly scam people. Ice Poseidon, probably one of the most blatant scammers of all time. Logan Paul, KSI, most blatant scammers of all time. They actually scam people. Scamming does have meaning. And yes, the Pokemon thing isn't a financial scam. It's not. It's a ripoff. It's not fucking worth it. But it's not a scam. I get that. Now he's going to get into why it is a scam, but
control over the conversation.
Cheesy, thin, and crispy. Cheez-It Snap.
I'm going to download the video next time so I don't have to do these fucking ads.
Prime Big Deal Days is coming. Shop epic deals and feel like a big deal.
You know, Pokemon cookies were a scam because they almost want to claim to be. If you want to make the health argument, the health benefit argument, I think that's a fair argument to make, and I think that's totally fine.
So it is a scam. So it is a scam. It's just not a financial scam. It's not reasonable, but it's not a scam.
But that's not the argument that most people were making, and so I'm really talking about the price of the cookies being a scam. I don't think something being overpriced makes it a scam. That's not how things work.
I get that. No, that's true. It's your obligation as a consumer to. So it's a scam because they were labeled as like a healthy alternative when they're. Sorry, it was labeled a scam properly because the cookies were advertised to be like healthy in some way, like they're healthier than the average cookie, which turned out to be pure bullshit. And so in that case, it could be a scam. But financially, most things financially are not a scam because you do get a product and you as a consumer are allowed to say no to something if it's too expensive or not.
So yeah, it's turning it into a buzzword. Exactly.
But it's not a buzzword. I mean, it can be used incorrectly, but it still also like determines exactly what it is, you know? Like I can call $30 for a hamburger a scam. Is it a scam? No, but it perfectly encapsulates exactly what I'm trying to convey to other people.
Speaking of scams, the day before offers are offering dinners for them for $12K. I'm sure they are. I mean, those guys are trying whatever they can to make money. McDonald's is a scam compared to receiving compared to real received staff versus ad. Oh, Taco Bell is getting sued for that. So you're right about that. Woke was always meant as a derogatory term for inauthentic representation, but randoms co-opted it for anything they don't like.
No, it didn't. That's not what woke meant. That's what you meant it as when you spoke it. But woke doesn't mean anything. Again, woke is a blank canvas. You can apply whatever you want and just call it woke. It's the most broad word in existence because you can just turn it into whatever the fuck you want it to.
Yeah, I think that's true. But yeah, that's my perspective. The entire suburb when Ghost of Yotai was announced. I think that the problem is that, so the Ghost of Yotai, like we talked about this like for like an hour yesterday, so I don't want to waste a lot of time on it. But like, the problem is that we've seen a lot of franchises replace male lead characters with female lead characters, and oftentimes...
So, this is another thing too. I never played Ghost of Tsushima. I don't really care about Ghost of Tsushima, but from what I can tell, Ghost of Yotai is a descendant. The main character you play in Ghost of Yotai is a descendant of a character that's in Ghost of Tsushima, I think. So, okay. Sure. Again, people won't care because the game will be great. You know? The game will be good. People adore the first fucking game. I missed my boat. I don't really care about it. I never played it. People adored it though. People will like the second one. Because if it's more of the first one, people will like it. And they won't care.
Sometimes it feels like it's a disingenuous reason. So when you see it happening now, it's like, okay, well, if this has happened 10 other times, humans are programmed to recognize patterns. People think it's happening again. Now, every time it's not...
I will admit it is a pattern that the sequel usually has a girl boss as the main protagonist when swapping out the main character. This is true. I have seen it before. I don't think they're very subtle about it. It has happened. It has been done well and it has been done poorly. You know? In movies, in games, every range of the spectrum. But it doesn't fail or succeed because the main protagonist is a female. Or a different gender altogether. They usually succeed because they're a good game, and it usually fails because it's a bad game.
Not the case, but when you have so many cases where it was the case, who cares?
Good game equals perfect, but as I said before, with acting, sorry, the actor they used for the game was just too loud. It wasn't even about her being a girl. Her tweets were straight up all. I don't care. I don't care. If it was a problem, the company wouldn't have hired her. That's it. Doesn't matter how loud she is, as long as she's not like legitimately harassing people, tweeting someone, calling them out on some bullshit that they may not or may have said. That's fine. I don't really care about that. I don't. If ever she reaches, first of all, she's not, she doesn't need to be professional. Not really, in my opinion. If she ever does something to slander the game, like Ghost of Utah is bad because X and X and X, that would be unprofessional. And that is not okay. But Twitter is a public space. She's not always on the clock, per se. She can say whatever the fuck she wants. It doesn't matter how loud the actor is. Separate the art from the artist. It's fine. It's easy to do in some cases. It's harder in others, but it just depends. If you're gonna judge a game's entire existence based off of what someone said on fucking Twitter, again, tells me a lot more about you than it does the game. She got hired because of diversity. Not really. She looks like she's a very good Eastern. I don't know her ethnicity, but she looks like she's an Eastern actress that is good at her job. And the role is, I think, Tsushima and Yotai. I think that's Japan. I think you just need someone that can be Japanese and perform well as an actor or a voice actor. I think that's going too far to say that she was hired because she's a diversity hire. I think that's going too far. Maybe she needed to speak. Maybe they needed someone who could speak fluent Japanese. I don't fucking know. I'm not going to look into it. I don't care. But the fact that she only got hired because she's a diversity hire, I think that's pure. I think that's super I don't know the word. My mind's blanking, but I think that's like kind of pure bullshit. I don't think there's any reason to that. I mean, she doesn't have to be Japanese. She clearly has Eastern descent, And you can also speak fluent Japanese. It doesn't matter where she was born. Her heritage is clearly something Eastern, I don't know. I'm just throwing ideas out, Maybe, and this is a crazy pick, maybe they just hired her because she's a good fucking actor. She can get real good into that mocap. She's very flexible. She can perform all the things that she's going to need to perform in the game for the mocap. Because that's the thing. These games, they're mocapped. The actor, or actress in this case, literally needs to do 90% of all the actions the character will do in-game. Not as in like drop from like a building onto a person, but like you need to have athletics, flexibility, and just talent. I don't know this person. I don't know her name. I forget her name. I read her name and I forgot her name. But again, we will have to judge on performance in the game to determine if the game is good. She could have been given the job. I mean, yeah, but you can say that about anyone, dude. Every time I don't get a job, I think I deserve to get in that job. I'm not going to shit on the person that got the job, though. The fucking course there are sexist people and stupid people, too. I mean, yeah, but just saying like, oh, she got it because of diversity hire, before we know anything about the situation, is a little much.
Cares? Well, they do, obviously. That's why they're talking about it. What do you mean, who cares? Like, what do you mean? They care. That's why they're talking about it. So, yeah, what do you mean, who cares? I mean, if enough people care, well, who cares? Like, obviously people care. What do you mean? It only takes a few bad instances to ruin it for everyone. Yeah, and I think that that's what's happened with people. So that's why people were so upset about it. And again, the problem is that there's very clearly, like, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to think, like, the best way to say it. There's very clearly, like, a logical reason for why people think this way. And there's also a logical reason why that might be the wrong way of thinking. But with the two groups of people that try to, like, argue this stuff, neither one of them want to acknowledge that the other side has a perspective that has any validity.
I think that not liking a game because there's black people in it is not valid at all. Again, I don't think there's any valid criticism there at all. You know? To use your example, not liking a game because two guys kissing it, I don't think that's fucking valid. So, people that are saying Concord it sucks because there's 3 black people and 1 white person, that's not valid criticism. That's just racism. That's not valid at all. What part of that is valid criticism? None of that's fucking valid. So, excuse fucking me. There can be valid criticisms, because Concord was a terrible fucking game. But to say that a part of it being bad was because there was black people into it, that's not valid. That's not valid at all. What fucking world? Any other situation at all, in all of human society, when would that be a valid reason as to why something is bad? Like, come on. What are we doing here?
So it's either like, oh, wow, you just want all the characters to be males and you hate women, or, oh, you want all the characters to be gay because you hate men.
Which isn't the case. I don't know if there's a single game that I know where all characters are gay. I know. There's options. Yeah. Baldur's Gate 3. Everyone can be gay, but not everyone is gay. Because you can turn them down, and then guess what? They're not gay. Pushing something like that and then having a bad game will make a normal consumer mad. But having a narrative in a bad game, I'm talking about them from their perspective. Normal or indie games, all gay. Dante, probably.
So, like, there's no, like, reasoned discussion. There's no middle ground.
There is a middle ground. But again, the extremes are what's being displayed here. We're not talking about the nuance of why Concord was bad. We're talking about someone thinking Concord was bad because there was black people in it. Or that Warhammer 2 is woke because there's a woman in it. We're not talking about the reasonable. We're talking about the unreasonable. I will talk about the reasonable. But all I'm hearing from the opposing party is like the most unreasonable shit in human existence.
No trying to listen to another person's perspective. There's just, I'm right and you're wrong, and this is why. So
yes, there is right and wrong. Not liking a game because there's black people is just a wrong thing, period. And I don't think that person belongs in any kind of gaming sphere, period. Hot button debate, but I don't think that kind of hate is good for any industry, including the gaming industry.
So yeah, it gets convoluted. Exactly. There's no giving ground. People don't want to see anything.
They do, but they don't. They.
Have you ever?
Shut up. That's a cool cat. They do, but people are just not reasonable. They're just not. They're just not. They're not at all. Like, it's the dumbest thing ever I've ever heard. None of it makes sense. I can't even consider how it would make sense. But there can be reasonable arguments for a lot of things. There can be reasonable arguments for everything. 100%. But one side's not giving reasonable arguments, is there? No, one side's giving the most batshit insane, unreasonable arguments known to man. It's fucking stupid, dude. It's like the dumbest thing ever. I need to adjust my VTuber a little bit. There we go. It's like the dumbest thing. Anyway, I wanted to go over this. I know I've been talking for like an hour for a 12-minute video. Apparently, it's really fucking easy, even though I hate it when other people do it. I'm going to do it because I want to. I wanted to go over it. And I'm going to go over more events like this in the future that I think that I can offer a good perspective to. Or I just want to talk about it because it's stupid. and it's like, why is this even a problem? I actually don't hate Asmongold there. He says some things that I don't agree with, obviously. And most of it was just like the general topic of it, period. And there are some reasonable, coherent, dare I say, good reasons as to why there are these things. You should do a full react, to be honest. It gives you a better viewpoint from the other people's perspective. Exactly. And I do like opinions. I do. If I never liked opinions, I wouldn't ask questions. I ask questions all the goddamn time. I fucking know my partner all the goddamn time for how many questions I ask. Because sometimes it feels like I feel like they're talking to a toddler sometimes because of the stupid questions I ask sometimes. But I like perspective. I like opinions. But your opinions need to be coherent. Your opinions just can't be it's bad because black people. Like that's not a valid opinion. The issue is that other countries have other viewpoints and you cannot make out in public, or Singapore and hold hands, for example, if you're not gay, for example. Yeah, I think that's despicable. I do. Why should the government have any restraint on how you feel as a person? But I was also growing up in places where you can think and act for your own, right? And I know the same thing isn't anywhere, like you're not free in China or Korea. I know that. And it sucks. You know? And yeah, they're gonna form their opinions vocally online because of the opinions that they were formed in their stuff. And I can comprehend that, and I can, you know, pick my battle wisely, basically, right? Because that person I'm not going to get through to, and they're not going to get through to me because we have such conflicting ideologies. But in this case, all the parties, all the three other people, Asmongold, Andy Pants, and Actman, as far as I can tell, they're all American. They don't have an excuse to have like really, really dumb viewpoints. Make money over there, you have to put these things in subtle, not push it. I mean, yeah, but that gets into like censorship though. And I don't really, that's not the topic right now. But I understand what you're saying. And if you want to change people's viewpoints, do it subtly. Make a super good game and have things and you want it. You know, yeah, I agree. People don't grab with Crunchy games at 10 out of 10. Exactly. And you know what? That also doesn't mean that you can't have games that are like super fucking flamboyant and also be good games. Nothing wrong with that. People will bitch about it. But if the game's good, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Right? Baldur's Gate is a perfect example. You can be gay in that game. You can be like you can be super fucking gay in that game. You can fuck all the dudes. But the game's a 10 out of 10. So no one really cries about it. Because no one can bitch about it. Because, one, it's an option. And two, it's a fucking good game. Dragon Quest, I love Slavanos. Oh yeah, Slavato. I love it was yes. Sylvano from Dragon Quest 12, I think, or whatever it is like the gayest man in existence in Dragon Quest universe. Of course, they never call him gay because, again, Eastern censorship and stuff. But I mean, I don't think they could make someone any more flamboyant than the "Hello, darling, how are you today?" than the fucking and the Spaniard. But anyway, that's going to be a long enough segment. I'm glad I went over it. I had fun. I had a lot of fun talking. Let's play some more video games, though. I just wanted to start this segment. I'm new to it. I'm going to probably do more of it. I'm not going to force myself to talk about every little subject, but just subjects that I feel like I can talk extensively about and more coherently. Japan and being gay is normal. Samurais literally married this sword because bears are the men as well. Yeah, but there's a lot of like shady shit over there. Like, for example, you can't like love hotels. Even though it's against the law to deny same-sex marriage, a lot of hotels still deny same-sex people in love hotels, for example. Just for example. And queer was always normal in Japan. A lot of comedians and beauty. I mean, yeah. There's always. It just depends, right? You know, I've seen videos where people are horribly discriminated against, and in most animes, there's no gay people. There is in Yaoi, but not really. A lot of Yaoi is like super softcore, and I'm not getting into that. That's a whole different topic. But like, there's no anime, mainstream anime these days that has a yaoi relationship where two guys fall in love. Not really, not anymore. It's usually lesbian, or it's guys and gals. That's it. It's just it.